the corner, teams jostling for position, teams just trying to get into the playoffs. But some teams are getting into the playoffs without really any chance of winning, at least in my opinion, winning the championship. So let's look at the opposite end of the conference. Let's go to the Eastern Conference, and let's rank every team based on how surprising it would be if they were to win the NBA championship this year. I like to do this every year. Go back into the season, see how good my takes were. You know, sometimes good, sometimes bad. So here's the tier list. We are going to rank them by, teams that are not a surprise. They win. Like, yeah, that was to be expected. Teams that are like, if they win, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm a little surprised. I didn't think they'd win, but I knew they had it in them to win. Teams I'd be surprised. Like, wow, they won the chip. Man, they really won the chip? Teams that are no way. Like, this team is not winning a championship. That'd be pretty crazy. Then there'd be teams that, if they won the championship, the world may come to an end because of how surprising it would be. And then there's teams that are just not going to make the playoffs, which I've just labeled as tank, which a lot of teams are going to fall into. But we'll start off here with the Philadelphia 76ers. They're obviously tanking. They're doing so pretty aggressively and doing so pretty successfully, I might add. Next up, the Milwaukee Bucks. Now this is our candidate for the slightly surprised tier, because as far as the standings are concerned, they're not up there with the likes of the Celtics and the Cavaliers. They are 18 games back of the Cavs. They are 10.5 games back of the Celtics. They could easily fall to 6 in the standings, but it's competitive from 3 to 6 in the East. And those are going to be some interesting first-round matchups. And at the end of the day, one of those teams is Giannis. One of those teams is Giannis and Damian Lillard, and has that firepower, has that punch to make some waves and maybe cause some difficulties to some of the top-tier teams in the conference. So I'm not saying that it's like not a surprise at all if they were to win the chip, but when you've got Giannis, it's only going to be a slight surprise because they haven't been fantastic this year, though they are still hampered by how bad of a start they had to the season. They were like 2-11 or something. So even if we take that away, they'd be probably still, they'd be kind of close to the Celtics. But those games did happen. They are where they are. I would expect the Celtics or Cavaliers to beat them, but it's not the most outrageous thing if the Bucks won the chip. It'd be a slight surprise, though. The Bulls, the world might be ending if the Bulls win the chip. Like, that'd be just completely, utterly out of nowhere. Now, the Cavs are next. I'll save them. But Boston is the championship favorite. They still are, even with the standings, even where they're currently at. Boston have, like, in a recent run of games, just showcased they are by far the best team. Like, there was a section of games against some difficult teams where they were just beating everyone down. I know that's the Mavs before all the shit went down, but like every time they played the Knicks, they blow them out. They've blown out the Heat. They've blown out the Knicks again. Interesting loss to the Pistons here. They were up by double. They're up by 20 plus against the Cavs and lost this game. They beat the Nuggets here. Double digits against the Blazers. Double digits against the Lakers. Other wins against some tanking teams. Lost to the Thunder. Very interesting game. But have showcased like they can just not only beat anybody, they can destroy a lot of teams as well. And they're the championship favorite. It's obviously not a surprise the championships go back-to-back here and win the NBA championship. Atlanta's up next. It's not the world is ending, but no, they aren't. They aren't winning the championship. Like Trae Young's been great. You look at the standings here. The Hawks made like tanking trades at the deadline. They made cost-cutting trades. They made trades you associate with a team tanking. And They are now 7th in the East. They have pulled through somehow and gone past the Magic and the Heat. They've stayed away from the Bulls. They had no business getting themselves up to this far in the standings. Like, it was destined that they were going to be the 9 or 10 seed, and the Bulls were going to be the 9 or 10 seed. But granted, the Magic and Heat have been really bad, but the Hawks, like, pulling themselves even somewhat close to 500 is pretty impressive based on their situation at the deadline. So, no way, but I don't think the world would be ending. It wouldn't be as surprising as the Bulls. The Heat, you still have to give like enough respect because of what they've accomplished in the last few years, but that was with Jimmy Butler. The trade hasn't worked out post-Butler era. The team kind of banded together in some sections without Jimmy Butler on the team, playing some really good basketball. Tyler Hero was an all-star and deserved to be an all-star, but since the all-star break, Tyler Hero's numbers have fallen off a cliff. So the numbers that were kind of carrying them have fallen off a cliff. They haven't got enough consistent play elsewhere other than like Bam Adebayo, who's been much better since the all-star break. But like finally, like the team that just doesn't really look that good is not that good. And losing Jimmy Butler was significant to the team. Not saying it's a bad trade because like Jimmy Butler wanted out and they had to rectify that situation. But it just hasn't worked out for them since then. You still like kind of give enough respect to Miami to say like no way and not the world is ending, but they ain't winning the chip. No way winning the chip. Hornets tanking. The Knicks. Good team, but still like maybe a slightly fragile to injuries. And in the end, every time they've played a good team, they lose. They've still got a good team that can make a run, but I'd be shocked if they won the chip because, again, every time they play a good team, they lose. They cannot beat good teams. And guess what? If you want to win the championship, you've got to beat good teams. And you've got to beat some really good teams 4 out of 7 times. They've shown no indication of making that happen. The Magic also falls into the no-way tier. They've got some decent players. Banchero's there. Banchero's very overrated, but at least there's some scoring pop there, and he played well in the playoffs last year. Franz Wagner is amazing. I think Franz Wagner is such a terrific player. He's the best player in the Orlando Magic. I guess it would depend on the Suggs situation because he's been injured. And when he's been injured, they have really, really struggled. He's out indefinitely. I guess he won't be back for the playoffs. Just confirming he's going to be out for the playoffs. Out indefinitely. That was of March 2nd. I mean, indefinitely would make me think he's not coming back for a while. Anyways, even still, they've left themselves a lot to do with their position standings, so I'm going to say no way. And likely, if they make the playoffs, likely a first-round exit. Brooklyn are tanking. Indiana have looked good this year. I'll give them a lot of credit. They've turned the season around. Halliburton's been fantastic second half of the season. Siakam's been great throughout. Both are going to have they've played enough. Siakam's played enough games, but if Halliburton as well, all NBA considerations. Siakam made an all-star team again. Would it be the level? I mean, in the end, I think they're close to the Bucks, but one of them has Giannis. I'd be pretty shocked if the Indiana Pacers won the NBA championship still. It's just such a competitive conference at the top. And the team around them has Giannis. So I got to give them the benefit. Pistons also fall into that shock tier. Man, they've been great, but just championship seems to be going a little too far. I think the fact they've made the playoffs to win for the Pistons, it'd be an overwhelming success to make the second round, but I think that is where their story would come to an end. Raptors up next. Yeah, tank, obviously. Wizards tank. And I think at this point, the Cavaliers might be the 1 seed in the East. In the NBA, actually. You have to give them enough respect to say, the Cavs, when I'm like, yeah, what a season they've had. based on like current where we rank them. Like preseason, be like, holy shit, the Cavs winning ship. Yeah, right. But at this point, we understand how good they are, and we wouldn't be surprised if they do come through.